Don't go broke in a nursing home. Larry Weiss often talks about barbershop law. And what he means is you've heard things that you think may be true, but I'm telling you, they probably are not. Steve Langdon, you said one of the things that I think people really kind of lean on when they don't attend a workshop is they go, this will never happen to me. I'm good.
Right, because there's always plenty of stuff going on in everybody's lives, right? This is the last thing so many people want to deal with. It's like me going to the dentist. I don't want to go, but I got to go, so I'd get there. You know, I lost my dad at 68. That's far too young. I lost my brother at 50, my sister-in-law at 52, and I just lost my brother-in-law at 63.
I'm sorry. My goodness.
And, you know, all of these are, oh my God, what just happened? And then your life's turned upside down. You know, the last thing anybody wants is for their kids to have to decide, do we remove life support or do we keep it on? That's why people need to come in. Because it's those kind of questions that they don't want to talk about now, but they've got to ask it. Because again, it's not if something like this is going to happen to you, it's just when is it going to happen? And it may not happen to you personally, but it could happen to your spouse or your children or your parents. And that's why you got to have this knowledge. It may be a crisis and we can save your assets if you have a crisis, or you may not be there yet. And you just need to have the knowledge that you can help your kids, your parents, your spouse, if the crisis or when the crisis comes, they're prepared.
Yeah, you illustrated my point about being turnkey, and there's so much there. There's so many different aspects. You were telling me, Larry, you said, you know, part of the things that Lindsay does, and she does a lot, but you were saying it's something you wouldn't expect elder advisors to do, right?
Yeah, with Lindsay coming on, the one component that we didn't have that we now do is Lindsay is a board-certified patient care advocate, and because a lot of times families come in and they're not quite sure what to do. Mom is still home, you know, but they need some help. We had a discussion this morning. She's meeting a family, and she's meeting with them next week because the family's adamant, you know, we're not going to the nursing home, we're not doing that, and that's okay because there's a lot of things that we do. I mean, our trademark is don't go broke in a nursing home, but there's a lot of things that fall under that, and personal care is one of those things, and that's one of the things that Lindsay's really running point on.
So personal care, what exactly, I mean, personal care advocate, what do you do? What do you negotiate?
Yeah, it's just advocating for patients, patients' needs and wants. A lot of times it's just communication. I mean, it's just, I have a client and she's having some mental health issues, but was really steady at a time when she lived out of state. Well, so I just worked with the POA and I said, well, why don't we contact the physician that was under care at this previous state and get the med list, and then we'll take out. I'm not taking a look at it. I'm not diagnosing anything. I'm not prescribing anything, but I'm making sure that the provider in front of the patient has all of the information that's necessary to treat that patient. And the way our health system is right now, records get lost. You're having to tell the same story over and over and over and over again to everyone, and patients are just falling through the cracks, and it's not their fault, and it's really not the health system's fault. It's just an overtaxed system, right? There's too many people. You know, everyone is short-staffed, and I just work with families to help them understand expectations and get the information that they need. That's the biggest thing. It's just information. They just want to know. They just want to talk to a doctor. And I'd ask Kentuckiana, if you have a loved one in a nursing facility, when's the last time you talked to a physician or a nurse practitioner or a provider treating your loved one? I mean, it doesn't happen often, but it should, and it certainly can, and I find those providers are happy to talk with families, and so it's just bridging the gap of those communications.
Just another reason to attend these workshops, and they are free, and I do think it's important to stress, though, you know, saving money is a big one, because mom and dad worked hard for that. It's not just about the kids putting it in their pocket, it's about why spend it if you don't have to, let it go, and talk a little bit about that. You'll give specific instructions at this, right? I mean, things to do, the do's and don'ts, it's very specific, it's not vague.
Right. No, we do. We go through a lot of the crisis side of things. We go through a lot of the proactive pre-planning side of things. You know, and with someone just kind of building on what Lindsay said, you know, a lot of times families go in and the family members that go with the patient, they'll hear what they want to hear. I've run into that I don't know how many times. And the other issue is they don't even know what questions that they should be asking. And that's really where Lindsay comes in for my clients, is that she'll help them understand what questions they don't know to even ask, and then also just give them an impartial, I've seen this, here's what they're telling you, and you know, here are the possible next steps. And it's clarifying, it's great. For the folks who show up at the workshops tonight and tomorrow, there's going to be a fast pace, a lot of fun. It's going to be free, and you can ask your questions. big things.
Yeah, I
Ask
love
your
that.
questions.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not dry. You know, it's not. It's
With this guy, are you
yeah,
kidding?
no,
Dry?
I know.
The camera loves me.
Yeah, we'll have fun.
Yeah, get the panel off the board. Let him zoom on the beauty. I mean, I feel Kentuckian is gypped by not seeing how beautiful I'm right
Come
now.
out and see Larry Weiss's beauty in person.
But you know, it's fun, but I do like all three of you. When it gets down to business and what you do, all of a sudden, man, you flip and it becomes very, very serious because it is serious. You're dealing with loved ones. You know this, Larry. There's an
Yes.
emotional side to it that you can't avoid.
And what Lindsay was talking about a moment ago is what we internally call the Blue Sapphire Protocol, because we want to make sure that these issues are addressed. August of 21, my mom had a UTI, and I'm calling the nurse, the visiting nurses, the therapist, I mean, just the whole gamut of stuff. Mom's in the hospital, now she's in the ER, now she's back home. Medicare is covering some of this stuff. They're talking languages and words I don't know anything about. I remember I was with a family in Scottsburg, out on Highway 56, west of Scottsburg. I'm out in the field, in the front yard, on the phone, trying to get coverage, talking to the nurse, trying to get reassured what's going on. If I'd had Lindsay, she could have been my, the Blue Sapphire Protocol.
Here's
That's what
exactly
we
what's
have.
happening, yeah.
This is what's going on.
And there's a lot of families. I'm working with a client who this poor family has just spent their wheels, right? Weeks and weeks and weeks. And the siblings are all getting along, and it's a great situation. But it's a mom and dad placement. And they have been looking at independent living. They've been looking at assisted living. And again, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to diagnose anything. But after working in this community for 15 years with this population, one look at them is like, they're not appropriate for assisted living. That would be a disservice to put mom and dad in assisted living, because in a matter of 2 weeks or 2 months, maybe if you're lucky, they're going to come back and say, well, we need to move mom and dad because they don't qualify at this level. And just helping Kentuckiana families understand where to start. Where do I start? It starts at the workshop tonight.
And circling back to what Steve said, it's not when it happens, it's not if it happens, it's when it happens. And when it does, instead of making that a negative memory, when you're in panic, if you have elder advisors, you're going to be rest assured, peace of mind, you know exactly what to do. So with our last 20 seconds here, Larry Weiss, invite folks out.
Kentuckiana, don't go broke in a nursing home. You don't have to. We also give you the peace of mind that you need with this. Come out tonight, 6 o'clock, Hilton Garden Inn on Crittenden Drive. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. in Clarksville. Tomorrow night, 3 afternoon in Bourbon Country, Bardstown, Kentucky, Hampton Inn. Don't go broke in nursing home. You don't have to. 855-LARRY55, freeworkshop.com.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. We shall return. We'll talk about what's coming up at 2 o'clock. Wave Country will be right back.